Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all having a great day. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for supporting the show and making today's show a part of your day. I want to pose this question and have this conversation working off of what we discussed last night with Brandon Aiyuk. Has the 49ers wide receiver played his last game with San Francisco? Now, to get you caught up in case you missed the news of the day yesterday, Brandon Aiyuk causing drama once again. Did a little bit of a deep dive on some of the posts that he had on his YouTube channel, sending out tweet-like messages on his YouTube channel, and we can run through a couple of them. He said, "This shit is so personal. I'm the only one who knows. They want to play cool now. Nah, F that. I want that smoke." A couple of weeks ago, he had said, "I'm trying to play cornerback." Brandon, you were an all-pro wide receiver in 2023 and a top 10 wideout in the game at that time. I don't think you need to make a position switch. And then there was this one, which was really at the heart of the conversation that we were having. And a lot of Niner fans saw this and they're like, really? Brandon Aiyuk is back at it again? BA saying they was talking about trading me while I was off Percocets and muscle relaxers and peeing in a cup by my bed, couldn't walk for 10 weeks, ain't nobody trading for me. Now, what does that mean? We're not sure. Only BA knows. Is that a shot at the organization? Is it a shot at the fan base who wanted him dealt? Is it a shot at people like me who talk about the Niners every single day and have discussed some of these trade rumors? Look, I was at the NFL Combine. I asked John Lynch. I was standing this far away from him as I am right now to this camera, and I said, "Are you going to trade away Brandon Aiyuk? There's a report here from the NFL Combine that you're looking to deal him." He never shot that down. And so if BA is mad at somebody like me for talking about these trade rumors, his own organization and what he has said has led to a lot of this controversy that has followed Aiyuk. And a lot of this has been caused by his own actions. Things have been contentious between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers for quite some time. I mean, shoot, the Niners lost Super Bowl 58 to the Kansas City Chiefs in Las Vegas in a heartbreaking, crushing fashion. You really would have to come up with a way to lose the Super Bowl in a movie for it to be as devastating of a blow as it was in reality for San Francisco. And what was it? The next day, one of his good friends was posting this on Instagram. This is the exact reason why we're leaving San Francisco. Thank you, 49ers, for drafting my brother. We are forever grateful. BA to Vegas. Why does your all-pro 1,300-yard receiver have 3 catches in the Super Bowl? And I've been posing this question. What has caused Aiyuk to be unhappy for so long? Was it the fact that he wasn't more a part of the offensive game plan in the Super Bowl against Kansas City? Because he really wasn't a focal point, but then the Niners gave him that huge contract. You would think that would smooth things over. That hasn't happened. So that happened last offseason. So did this tweet directly from Brandon Aiyuk to Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, where he said this, and this was notable because the Steelers were the team mentioned the most as a trade destination for Aiyuk if the Niners and him couldn't agree to a deal. At Coach Tomlin, they're saying we're twins. What do you think? Remember when Brandon Aiyuk posted his FaceTime conversation with Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels on social media? That blew up when BA said to Daniels, "They said they don't want me back." That caused a lot of people to believe, oh man, BA is going to leave the Niners. He went on Ryan Clark's podcast, The Pivot, and said, Jaden Daniels, who I played with at Arizona State, is the quarterback who I would love to play for if I don't play for the Niners. Shortly around that time, BA tweeted out video from Commanders practice of then rookie Jaden Daniels taking snaps with the first team offense and him practicing with Washington. Basically saying, that's the quarterback who's the apple of my eye. I would love to play for Washington. Again, if you want to get mad at me for talking about stuff like this, you should just blame Brandon Aiyuk. He is at the center of this, and he has stirred the pot time and time again. And because the contract negotiations last offseason were so contentious and they got so nasty and dramatic, General Manager John Lynch, who was at the negotiating table multiple times with Aiyuk in his camp, even admitted, yeah, BA was a little bit upset about negotiations last year. Here's the thing, though. Brandon Aiyuk got $76 million in guaranteed money. The Niners organization gave BA $76 million in guaranteed money. So prior to signing that deal, you could see where Aiyuk is coming from. They don't want me. They don't value me. They're disrespecting me with their contract offers. If they were serious about getting a deal done, they would get a deal done. They've called me a focal point of this offense. They've said I'm a huge part of what we've done and what we've accomplished as a team. If they really believed that with what they said, they would back up their words. I could see why Aiyuk, before signing the contract, would have those thoughts in his mind. I could see why human nature would play a role in him being upset. But you would think that once the Niners actually did give you that financial commitment, and they did give you $76 million, you wouldn't continue to complain about your current status with the organization, your current situation, and you would think that things would be on less shakier ground. This is the contract that the Niners gave BA. Clearly they value him. They made a massive investment in a 2023 All-Pro who they spent time developing into a top 10 wide receiver prior to that knee injury last year. They gave him a 4-year, $120 million contract, $30 million in average annual value, $76 million in guaranteed money. That was more than his fellow teammate at the time and his running mate at wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. And now, even after some players have gotten contracts since Aiyuk signed that deal, he's still tied for being the 7th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, they all signed deals more recently than Aiyuk. And so prior to that, Aiyuk was one of the highest paid wide receivers in the game, and he still is. John Lynch was on the Pat McAfee show a couple of weeks ago. He even said, we want Aiyuk to be a part of our organization moving forward. He's been very important to what we do. But Aiyuk continues to go out of his way to make noise, cause drama, and bring about unnecessary conversations about him and his status with the Niners that the Niners probably hope were in the rear view and in the past. And if he's going to continue to post the things that he's posting, when he probably knows the ramifications of those posts, it clearly points to him still being unhappy with this team. And again, it's not like this is a revelation. It's not like this is the first time. This has been a repeated pattern time and time again. Even when he got off to that slow start last year and looked out of shape to start the 2024 season, and again, signed that contract. Negative Nancy on the practice field, not following team rules, getting into an argument with the head coach in Kyle Shanahan, wearing the wrong attire to practice when he very well knows that it was the wrong choice to do that. It's been with this team since 2020. He knows the rules by now. You don't sign a contract and all of a sudden you're like, I can do whatever I want. Would Fred Warner ever do this? Would Christian McCaffrey ever do this? Would Trent Williams ever do this? Would George Kittle ever do this? Would Nick Bosa ever do this? No. And there's a reason why those players are team captains and Brandon Aiyuk is not. Fred Warner didn't need a new contract. The Niners gave him one because he is the epitome of what they want their organization to be. Brandon Aiyuk acts like a fool compared to a guy like Fred Warner, who is the consummate pro and is mature. I got to ask this question, man. How long do the Niners want to deal with this? They flushed that 6-11 season from last year. They've improved the team. They've brought in this influx of youth. They've changed the coaching staff. They've made some major upgrades within that coaching staff. And what have all of the players talked about for the most part this offseason? Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, Fred Warner, George Kittle. How the good vibes are back. How there's renewed energy inside the building. How people are excited once again. Nick Bosa and Trent Williams were at OTAs. It had been damn near a decade since Trent Williams was on hand for an OTA session. He was at OTAs because he's chomping at the bit for the 2025 season to get here. So there have been no distractions, no contract drama. Everybody's pumped up to be inside the building. Everybody is ready for this upcoming season. Yet, Brandon Aiyuk is still out on the side, acting the way that he's acting. And it reminds me of a situation that's inverse of what the Niners are dealing with what the Giants pulled off and what the Red Sox were dealing with. Look at who the San Francisco Giants just traded for. And this move has excited their entire fan base. They made the trade for Rafael Devers. What happened with Rafael Devers? Great player. Signed a massive contract with the Boston Red Sox. But he felt disrespected by Boston's organization because they brought in Alex Bregman to take his position at third base. The Red Sox didn't believe that Devers was a good enough third baseman. They wanted to move him to first. Devers said no. He became disgruntled. The trust between the two was broken. Devers never forgave the Boston Red Sox, and it got to a boiling point where they said, you know what? We're not even going to get back that much in a trade. We're going to ship you to San Francisco. That's kind of what's happening right now with Brandon Aiyuk. And so is it going to get to a point now where the Niners are like, you know what? This relationship is broken. We've tried to repair it like the Red Sox tried to repair it. We haven't been successful in doing that. So let's just trade Aiyuk away like the Red Sox traded Devers away. Let's start anew, and it's probably best for both parties to get a fresh start. Now, you got to give Deebo Samuel credit here. Wide receivers are always dramatic. It's always wide receivers who are causing so much drama. Deebo wanted out, but the Niners granted him his wish, sent him to Washington. But Deebo was not noisy about it. Instead, he was very professional. After the season wrapped up last year, he approached Kyle Shanahan and he said, I would like to get traded. I would like to go somewhere else. Now, you could criticize Deebo for how he handled his contract negotiations because Aiyuk certainly took a page out of his book. But with Deebo wanting to get traded, he never said publicly, I'm demanding a trade, I'm unhappy, I want out. No, all he said was positive things about the Niners. And when he did get traded away, he wrote in the Players Tribune that the marriage coming to an end was such a difficult decision for him in San Francisco. He elaborated and went in depth about how his relationship with Kyle Shanahan was so tight and how hard that conversation was to have for him to say, I want to go elsewhere. But because he was professional about it, the Niners honored his trade request. And they got back a 5th-round pick, which wasn't great value, but they at least honored his request. Aiyuk is taking a different route. Aiyuk is being childish, and he's being immature about this. And it's a shame to see this transpire because he used to be a fan favorite among this fan base. Now a lot of fans can't stand him. And you know there's one thing that Kyle Shanahan hates dealing with. It's immaturity. I asked so many players when I was around the team during that Super Bowl run, covering them during the 2023 season, the culture here is noticeable. Why is the culture the culture? And why does that lead to sustained winning? What George Kittle said to me, I thought was really interesting. He said, Kyle Shanahan is the ultimate player's coach. He will let players be players. He will let them be themselves. But when it comes down to it, he wants you to love football, be about football, and be passionate about football. And so Kyle Shanahan will let players be players. He'll let BA be BA. But he wants BA to probably just focus on football and stop with the extracurricular madness. But Aiyuk can't help himself because he keeps posting time and time again. You got to learn your lesson at some point. And if the Niners do move on from BA, wide receivers are a luxury in this offense. They're not a necessity. Kyle Shanahan's been able to make do without bona fide number one wide receivers. The scheme and the system, the play calling, the play designs, it can lead to players getting open, picking up yards after the catch. And after all, it's a run-centric system. Now, of course, some people might form an opinion, and you might have this opinion already. Well, if that's the case, why the hell did they sign Aiyuk to $30 million? I was always an advocate for the Niners paying Aiyuk, but I thought they should have done it earlier. They could have gotten him for $25 million. Because they waited, they had to overpay for Aiyuk, and now it's blown up in their faces. And now could it get to a point where they're like, let's wipe our hands clean, let's just get him out of here, because all of the vibes are great, except for the controversy and the dark cloud that currently is Brandon Aiyuk. So will BA play for the Niners again? Yes? No? Predict it for me down in the comment section. Also, 4th of July is coming up. If you want to rep the Niners and rep America, F yeah! Get your Niners 4th of July shirts right now. Chatsports.com/49ers4th. That'll take you to Fanatics, and you can get this beautiful shirt today.